Good morning, this is Media Center, Ukraine, Odessa, and we are starting our first briefing for today. And first, we are having online the Minister of Youth and Sports of Ukraine, Mr. Vadym Gutzait. Mr. Gutzait, do you hear me well? Yes. Perhaps you would like to start before we have the questions to you. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone in Odessa, and I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to communicate with you today and to tell about our achievements at the sport and diplomatic front line. This is what we've been doing since the first day of war. And so we do everything to approximate our victory together. So let's start from the questions. The first question is what are the sports initiatives for children, in particular for refugees children? And we have a lot of them who come here from the occupied territories or heavily shelled territories. Thank you very much for your question. This is a very important question because since the first day of war, a lot of people traveled abroad with children, but thanks to our armed forces, a lot of our people have already come back to Ukraine with children. And it is very important for us, for all children, to come back to Ukraine because our children are our future. And in 10, 15 years, these children will be competing at the Olympic Games and other competitions. And these children will form the policy of Ukraine in the future. That's why we organize different events for children. For example, we develop actively the park and different cities of Ukraine, including Kiev. We involved different types of population. For example, with the Ukrainian Center of Physical Health, we have the project The Health for Everyone, and in October this year we had 20 events involving 4,700 participants, including 572 IDPs. The coordinators of the active of the project, the active parks, the venues of the Health Ukraine had 783 events in October involving more than 1,900 participants, including around 1,300 IDPs. That is why it is very important for us, for all IDPs, to have an opportunity to go into sports, including children. Thank you very much. The next question. It is known that some athletes from the aggressor countries, Russia and Belarus, accept Ukrainian citizenship. Can this strengthen our Olympic Ukrainian team? You know, our sports person and I represent Ukraine in the international level. We have already won more than 3,000 medals from the beginning of this year, and you can see that all international competitions there is our flag because our sportsmen win and they just struggle. They struggle to get one of the first places and to win. And that's why it is very important for us to be victorious this day. As for the Russian sportsmen, this is quite a difficult issue because while ILS sportsmen fight for our victory at the different sport events, almost all Russian sportsmen remain silent. And if they're silent, they support the aggression against our homeland. So, if someone wants to accept Ukrainian citizenship from there and There are not so many people there. But this is a difficult question for them inside Russia because to be able to leave Russia, they need to get permission in their country. Actually, I have not seen the sportsmen that openly say that they want to accept Ukrainian citizenship, that they are against the Russian aggression. And those Russian sportsmen who had been in Ukraine before the 24th of February, but had not accepted Ukrainian citizenship before that day, are supported by us if they openly speak about the Russian aggression. Tell us, please, did you discuss were there some discussions of the exclusion of the boxing from the Olympic program of the 2024 Olympics due to the International Boxing Federation's ties with Russia? Is it real or not? Do you mean the exclusion of boxing from the Olympic program? Yes. When it comes to boxing at the international level and the level of the Olympic program of the 2024 and in general are not new, and this is related to different financial violations and dishonest activities of different judges at international events. If I'm not mistaken, since 2019, there have been discussions with the International Olympic Committee and the International Boxing Federation. The Olympic Games and everything that was done in Tokyo was guided by the International Olympic Program because the International Boxing Federation was removed from heading at the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Boxing will be represented in 2024. And there is the head of the Boxing Federation, one of the Russians, Omar Kremlov. But all his actions raise even more concern from the Olympic Committee, and this can lead to exclusion of boxing from the Olympic program in 2028. But this is up to the Olympic Committee to decide, because they are real violations and there is disrespect to everyone. And you know that this boxing federation tries to allow Russians under the Russian flag to different competitions. And this violates the recommendation of the International Olympic Committee, who says that Russians and Belarusians cannot participate in the international competition. So here we can see disrespect to the International Olympic Committee. There are a lot of issues inside the organizations, so we will follow the situation. We have one more world-related question. We know that Iran has been supplying armament to Russia, and this armament is used against Ukraine and Ukrainian citizens. So, what do you think? What are the prospects of Iran's exclusion from the FIFA World Cup 2022 and Ukraine's participation instead? You know that the issue has not been solved yet. There is no final decision on the Iran's exclusion from the FIFA World Cup because the international community has not recognized yet that Iran supplies armament to the Russian Federation. Then we should remember that the representatives of different continents participate in the World Cup. And if there is exclusion of Iran, then it shall be substituted by another country from the same continent. So I don't think that Ukraine can participate instead, because if Iran is excluded, then it will be the country from the same continent to substitute it. How do Ukrainian athletes help Ukraine at the international level? Can you give us some examples of what they do and how they do this? From the first day of war, our sportsmen have become kind of ambassadors of Ukraine in the world. For sportsmen and for trainers, the main thing is victory. And as I've already mentioned in the beginning, our sportsmen, they fight for victory, for our flag to be raised at different competitions. They tell the world what has been happening in our country, what the occupiers have been doing in Ukraine, how they have been killing women, children, and raping our people. And you know, what they do is incomprehensible. So we understand what is going on, but we can't grasp how people can do such things in the 21st century. That's why our sportsmen raise awareness about the situation in Ukraine all over the world. They participate at different congresses, they show photos, footages, and they say that the sanctions against Russian and Belarusian sportsmen should be continued, that they should not be returned to the international competitions because they want to participate under the neutral flag in 2023. And the 2023 will be the qualifying year for the Olympic Games. So the sportsmen from Russia and Belarus try to get there under the neutral flag. And our sportsmen, of course, and the federations of Ukraine and the National Olympic Committee, headed by Mr. Pupka, and we, ministries and heads of all the federations, do everything possible for them not to be included in the competition. So this is kind of a teamwork now to ensure the suspension of the sportsmen from there. And you can see our flag all over the world. We prove that Ukraine will be and we will be victorious. There was the information that F1 race left Russia because of the full-scale aggression. Is it possible for the stage of the royal race that always interesting for mass media, for people to take place in our country? Do we have tracks for this? And this is not only the question about F1. Before the war, we had a lot of international competitions in different areas in Ukraine. And you know that in 2012 we had the Euro Cup, Football Europe Cup. In 2017 there was the final of Championships League. And we have also the international competitions, including Olympic Games and not Olympic, Olympic sports and not Olympic sports, and we have proved to the international community that we're able to do this. And before the war, the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, told me that we should study if it was possible and what should be done to make this possible. So we have a now understanding of what can be conducted in Ukraine, including F1. A year ago, when I got that order from the president of Ukraine, I was the minister of Azerbaijan because they have experience in such events. So we developed the concept, so it's already there. But you understand that the first thing today is our victory, and after the victory, we will be able to rebuild everything, and we will be able to host competitions because we will be a new country with modern sports facilities. And now you know that we have applied for FIFA World Cup 2030. We have stadiums. We are ready to build more. we will restore the Donbas arena. This is very important for us. That's why I believe that after our victory, we will be able to host high-level competitions in Ukraine. Thank you. You've just mentioned the Donbas arena, and now I have the question. Every time when I was there before the full-scale war, locals told me that sports was very important for them. And they actually were into sports. They sent children to sports school, including the children with disabilities and impairments. Was it possible to evacuate some sports institutions, some specialized sports institutions from Donbas where the hostilities are very severe? Perhaps you know something about this. Those infrastructural objects that were constructed on the territory of the Donetsk Oblast, including Liman, that was the bicycle track that was destroyed by the enemy. In Mariupol, we constructed the basin, the pool for the Olympic Games. That was 50-meter pool that was unfortunately destroyed by the enemy. And of course, our sportsmen moved from there, and including the sports school. There was a school named after Mr. Bubka, who is the president of the National Olympic Committee, has been also moved here to Ukraine, to the rest of Ukraine. It is now in Poltava. And I would like to thank everyone for the support provided, because children and all the equipment was moved to Poltava, and now there we have one of the best sports schools, which is named after Mr. Bubka. So we have such examples, and I would like to thank everyone who helped us to make it possible, that we were able to to transport children and everything we need for sports for them. We have the question from the sports journalists. Unfortunately, he cannot be present today, so he asked me to ask you the question. Are you planning to apply for the head of the National Olympic Committee? What will be your program? And are you ready to debate with other competitors? Thank you. I'm not planning, I have already done this, so I would like to say hello to this journalist. I have already submitted for the position. My program will be comprehensive, detailed, and professional, and I work to develop the Olympic movement in Ukraine. And I work to continue our struggle with the Russian Federation and with Belarus to ensure suspension of sportsmen from those countries. I also work to ensure Olympic values, and this is very important to develop the Olympic movement and the Olympic Committee, both in Ukraine and in the world. I have the experience, I have the support of sportsmen and trainers from the sports community, because I have been working there my whole life. And so I not only work with hypes, as it's now young people do. There is no hype in my work. I just work to prove with my deeds that I'm capable to do this. I just not only promise something, but I have some background which is well aware to everyone. This information is open, and that's why I will compete for the position of the president of the Olympic National Committee. And I would also like to wish the honest struggle to all the candidates. Thank you very much for the briefing. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being here with us so early today. That was the Minister of Youth and Sports of Ukraine, Vadym Gutzait. He has a government day today, that why the briefing was quite short, but we hope that we will be able to see him here again. The next briefing will take place at noon. We will have the Minister of Education of Ukraine, so stay with us today.